Welcome back to Horror Koko Town. Tonight, we invite you to uncover a dark family secret, a chilling tale from author Koko titled 20-Year Blood Karma. Settle in, turn off the lights, and let the nightmare begin. A late afternoon in the deep countryside at the end of the rainy season always carries a desolate, melancholic vibe. The river ran thick with red, muddy water. Clumps of water hyacinth drifted aimlessly. Right on the edge of the canal sat old Mrs. Utt's thatched house. It was so dilapidated that half of the side walls were rotting away. The tin roof was covered in rust, the wooden pillars blackened from years of soaking in floodwaters. Mrs. Utt sat on the front porch, waving an old palm leaf fan, her eyes staring blankly at the dirt road. She had been waiting all morning. At nearly 60, her back was hunched, and her eyes carried the heavy, bitter look of a woman who had carried the weight of poverty her entire life. From the end of the road, a motorbike taxi screeched to a halt. A moment later, Hong stepped down, carrying a large bag and holding the hand of her young son, Bin. Having lived in the city since her marriage, her face now looked hollow and exhausted. Bin clung tightly to his mother's leg, looking around nervously. Mrs. Utt scrambled to her feet, her voice trembling with a mix of joy and anxiety. "Oh my God, you really came back? When you called, I thought you were joking." Hong didn't answer right away. Bin looked at his grandmother and mumbled a quiet greeting. Mrs. Utt pulled the boy into a tight hug, her eyes turning red. Hong looked at her childhood home, a sudden lump forming in her throat. This was only the second time she had returned since getting married. Nothing had changed. The dusty altar of her late father was still pushed against the wall. The musty smell of rotting leaves and kitchen smoke was exactly as it had been. Yet, the air in this house still made her feel suffocated, just like when she was a child. Mrs. Utt hurriedly pulled their bags inside, asking, "Where is Than? Didn't your husband drive you?" Hong was silent for a few seconds before replying bluntly, "We divorced." Mrs. Utt froze. "What? I thought you two just had a fight." Hong didn't want to talk about it. She walked straight into the house, her red eyes making it clear she had been through hell. Just then, a loud, sputtering motorbike pulled into the yard and braked hard. Tan stepped off. His shirt was half unbuttoned and he reeked of cheap liquor. Seeing Hong inside, he stopped, then smirked. "Look who got kicked out by her husband." The atmosphere instantly soured. Mrs. Utt tried to intervene, but Hong glared at her brother. "Watch your mouth, Tan. Me? You drag your whole life back here. Everyone knows what happened," he sneered, eyeing her luggage with pure annoyance. Mrs. Utt quickly stepped between them. "She just got here. The house is small, but we make do." Tan's words were sharp, but everyone knew what he was really thinking. The house and this piece of land were the only things of value left. Ever since their father died, Tan had been waiting to sell it. "Don't worry," Hong said coldly. "I'm not here to fight over the land with you. I don't leech off our mother like some people." Outside, the rain began to fall. The cold wind from the river blew in, making the rusted tin roof rattle. Little Bin, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, suddenly tugged at Hong's shirt. "Mom? What is it, sweetie?" "There's someone standing out there." The whole house froze. Hong looked toward where Bin was pointing, the dark, rainy backyard. But there was nothing there, just banana trees swaying in the wind. Tan burst into a mocking laugh. The kids already making up stories. But Bin's face was completely pale. "It's true. I saw a man looking into our house. He was wearing black clothes and he was completely soaking wet." A dead silence fell over the room. The rain outside grew heavier. Hong rubbed her son's head. "You just saw a shadow, honey." "No, Mom. He's been standing there for a while." Tan jumped down from the wooden bed, his face twisted in anger. "Just got back and already starting with the ghost nonsense. You better watch it. This house is full of ghosts. Get used to it, kid." Mrs. Utt glared at Tan. "Shut your mouth." Then she muttered, "Hong, you've always been afraid of ghosts since you were little. Don't infect the boy." Dinner that night was a tense, quiet affair. Tan shoveled food into his mouth, then casually asked, "So, you planning to stay here forever?" "I don't know yet," Hong replied. "I thought you were living the high life in the city. Why come back and burden us? This house can't feed two more mouths." Hong slammed her chopsticks down. "I have a right to be in this house. You're the one destroying it while Mom cleans up your messes. You want to go?" Tan kicked his chair back, ready to explode. Suddenly, a motorbike roared into the yard. A middle-aged man in a raincoat barged in, looking furious. "Tan, you hiding from me?" Mrs. Ut turned pale. "Mr. Nam, please, give us a little more time. Your little more time is 2 months late." Mr. Nam slammed his hand on the table. "I'm telling you, if I don't have my money by this weekend, I'm taking the land." He stormed out, leaving a suffocating silence behind. Tan sat back down, lighting a cigarette, the smoke clouding his hollow face. Hong looked at him in disgust. "You're drowning this family in debt. Mind your own business," Tan snapped. Right then, little Bin's voice trembled again. "Mom, the man is back. He's closer now." Everyone turned toward the kitchen door. Through the white sheets of rain and the dim yellow light, there was nothing. But Bin was shaking violently, his hands gripping Hong's shirt. "Don't look," Hong whispered, hugging him tight. "But he's standing right at the door, Mom." Tan lost it. "Enough!" He stomped to the kitchen and violently yanked the door open. The wind and rain howled into the house. "See? Nothing! You two are a nightmare!" But as he yelled, a strong gust of wind blew through, the knack violently shaking the single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. Tan's shadow stretched across the woven walls, distorting into a grotesque shape. Mrs. Oot shivered and quickly closed the door. Stop talking about ghosts in the middle of the night. That night, Hong couldn't sleep. The small, musty room she shared with Bin felt incredibly oppressive. Sometime past midnight, she heard a sound. It was faint, like someone walking through thick, wet mud. She opened her eyes. The sound was right outside the kitchen wall. She slowly got out of bed, grabbed her phone, and turned on the flashlight. The house was pitch black. Tan was snoring on the wooden bed in the living room. Hong crept to the kitchen. The back door was slightly ajar. She pushed it open. The beam of her flashlight cut through the dark yard. There was no one there. But right in the middle of the muddy ground, there was a trail of fresh, deep footprints. Large, bare feet. The terrifying part? The footprints only led from the river up to the kitchen door. There were no footprints leading away. Suddenly, she heard a creak behind her. She spun around. In the middle of the dark living room, the empty hammock was slowly swaying back and forth. Hong's blood ran cold. She stepped inside and grabbed the edge of the hammock, forcing it to stop. From her mother's bedroom, a panicked voice cried out in the dark. "No! Don't drag him away! Please!" Hong rushed in. Mrs. Oot was thrashing in her sleep, drenched in sweat. Hong shook her awake. "Mom, wake up!" Mrs. Ut bolted upright, her eyes wide with terror. She grabbed Hong's hand. Did you hear someone walking outside?" Hong stared at her mother. Mrs. Ut never talked about ghosts. She was a hardened woman. Seeing her this terrified sent a chill down Hong's spine. The next morning, the heavy clouds remained. Hong went to the back door. The footprints were still there. She called her mother over. When Mrs. Oot saw the deep tracks in the mud, she dropped her basket of vegetables. Her face turned chalk white. "Mom, who do you think it is? There are no footprints walking out." Before Mrs. Oat could answer, a loud commotion broke out at the front. A large, angry man named Hao, flanked by 2 tattooed thugs, marched into the house. "Tan, where are you?" Hao bellowed. Tan emerged, looking irritated. "What do you want so early?" "You have 3 days. If you don't pay, I'm taking the house," Hao threatened, grabbing Tan by the collar. "Or maybe you want to pay with your life?" Amidst the screaming, little Bin suddenly pulled hard on Hong's shirt. He pointed to the riverbank. "Mom, the man is standing out there again." Hong snapped her head toward the river. In broad daylight, standing beneath the old coconut tree by the water, was a tall figure dressed in loose, soaking wet black clothes. His head was bowed, his hair matted to his face. Even from a distance, Hong could feel that he was staring directly into their house. The thugs turned to look, but in a blink the figure vanished. "What the hell are you looking at?" Hao spat, shoving Tan away. 3 days. That's it. He left with his men. Hong turned to her mother. "You saw him too, didn't you, Mom? What are you hiding?" I didn't see anything," Mrs. Ut stammered, avoiding eye contact. That afternoon, trying to escape the tension, Hong cleaned her old bedroom. Behind a heavy wooden cabinet, she noticed a small compartment nailed shut. Curiosity getting the better of her, she pried it open with a pair of scissors. Inside was a dusty plastic bag. She opened it. Her breath hitched. It was a faded men's dress shirt. The chest area was stained with a massive, dark, hardened patch of dried blood. Beneath the shirt was a coiled piece of thick, dirty rope tied into a noose. "What are you doing?" Hong jumped. Mrs. Ut was standing in the doorway, her eyes wide with horror. Hong held up the shirt. "Mom, what is this? You said Dad's clothes were burned. Whose blood is this?" "Give it to me." Mrs. Ut lunged forward, her voice desperate. "Put it away." Suddenly, the wind outside howled. The bedroom door slammed shut on its own, and from the living room, the unmistakable sound echoed. Creak, creak. The hammock was swaying again. Hong and her mother stared at each other in the dim room. Mrs. Ut's lips were trembling uncontrollably. "Please," she begged, "just put it away." As night fell, the tension in the house reached a breaking point. A neighbor, Mr. Baduk, walked by and looked at Hong with a strange expression. "Ever since you came back, this house feels freezing cold," he muttered, before Tan aggressively chased him away. Later, a female loan shark named Lean arrived, screaming at Tan. During the argument, the horrifying truth slipped out. "He took the land deed and pawned it to gamble," Lean yelled. Hong felt her blood boil. She pushed Tan. "You pawned our father's land? Are you insane?" Tan finally snapped. "Dad this, Dad that. You think I want to live like this? You don't know anything. When I was 16, he beat me so hard he broke 2 of my ribs. You think you're the only one who suffered?" Crash. Everyone flinched. The framed portrait of their late father had suddenly plummeted from the altar, shattering into pieces. The glass scattered across the floor, but the father's stern face in the photo remained perfectly intact, staring right at them. Mrs. Ut fell to her knees, weeping, her hands bleeding as she tried to gather the broken glass. The storm returned that night, more violent than before. Around 9 p.m., Tan returned home, completely soaked and smelling of alcohol. "They gave me 2 weeks, he muttered, dropping a crumpled paper on the table. "I need 700 million, or they take the land." "We are not selling the land to pay your debts," Hong screamed. "Then what do you want me to do?" Tan roared, his eyes bloodshot. Suddenly, a heavy, mechanical sound echoed from the dark river, a boat engine. It chugged slowly, then stopped right in front of their house. Silence followed. Then came the footsteps. Squelch, squelch, squelch. Heavy boots walking through the mud, coming straight up the bank. Tan grabbed a flashlight and marched to the front door. He shined the beam into the yard. Nothing. But on the ground, fresh, muddy footprints led right up to the porch, exactly like the night before. He cursed and slammed the door. But Mrs. Ut, shaking uncontrollably, walked out from her room carrying a small wooden box. She placed it on the table. "I've hidden this for 20 years, she whispered, her voice cracking. Tan's face turned ashen. "Mom, don't." "I can't anymore. I'm so tired." She opened the box. Inside was her husband's broken watch. Mrs. Ut looked at Hong, tears streaming down her face. "The night your father died, he didn't commit suicide. He caught Tan trying to steal the land deed. They fought. Your father beat him, and Tan pushed him back. He fell. His head hit the table." Hong stopped breathing. "He was bleeding so much," Mrs. Ut sobbed, "but he was still breathing. But I was so scared. I was terrified they would put my son in prison. So, Tan and I, we dragged him to the garden. We tied the rope, and we hung him. The revelation hit Hong like a physical blow. Her father hadn't killed himself. He was murdered by her brother and hanged by her mother while he was still alive. "You killed him," Hong whispered, stepping away from Tan. "I didn't mean to." Tan screamed, tears finally breaking through his hardened face. "I was drunk. I didn't want to go to jail." A blinding flash of lightning lit up the yard. And in that split second, Hong saw him. Standing under the coconut tree, illuminated by the storm, was a man. His clothes were black and dripping wet. But this time, Hong saw his face. His skin was a bruised, decaying purple. His eyes were hollow, black voids. His neck was snapped and tilted at a grotesque angle. It was her father. "He's here," Hong choked out. Tan saw it too. He stumbled backward, his face frozen in pure terror. "No, no." The ghost slowly raised a pale, waterlogged arm, pointing a single trembling finger directly at Tan. Unable to take it anymore, Tan screamed and bolted out into the rain. Hong chased after him, but they both crashed into the neighbor, Mr. Baduk, who was standing in the yard. "Where are you running, Tan?" the old man said softly. "You've been running for 20 years. You can't hide from karma." Before anyone could process this, 3 motorbikes ripped into the yard. The real debt collectors had arrived. The thugs stepped off, their faces cold and merciless. The leader pulled out a switchblade. "Time's up. We take a finger today." He grabbed Tan, forcing him to his knees in the mud. Mrs. Oot screamed, throwing herself into the mud to beg for her son's life. "Please, take my life instead." But the river had other plans. A massive surge of water erupted from the canal. The dark waves violently crashed against the banks. From the churning water, the figure slowly walked up onto the land. The thugs froze. The leader dropped his knife, his eyes wide in absolute horror as the rotting purple-faced ghost of the father dragged itself toward them. "What the hell is that?" a thug screamed. They scrambled onto their bikes and fled into the night, leaving the family alone with the spirit. Tan remained on his knees in the mud. He didn't run. He just looked up at the monstrous figure of the father he had murdered. "Dad," Tan sobbed, his voice completely broken. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, stop looking at me." The ghost stood in silence, the rain washing over its grotesque, broken neck. Mrs. Oot crawled to the ghost's feet, crying hysterically. "Take me! It was my fault! I tied the rope! Leave him alone!" But the ghost slowly faded into the driving rain, leaving behind a cold, terrifying silence. The next morning, the storm broke, leaving a thick, eerie fog over the river. Hong woke up to a horrific scream from her mother. She ran to the front porch. The hammock was swaying violently. The back door was wide open. Hong ran out into the fog toward the riverbank. Beneath the old tree where her father had been hanged 20 years ago sat Tan. He was slumped against the trunk, staring blankly at the muddy water. His body was freezing cold. He was dead. The cycle was complete. 20 years of guilt, terror, and running had finally caught up to him. 3 days later, the police reopened the case after Hong handed over the wooden box and the bloody shirt. The village talked about it for years. Mrs. Oot completely lost her mind. She spent her final days wandering the muddy riverbanks, calling out for her dead son, until she passed away a month later, still clutching her husband's bloody shirt. Hong took little Bin and left the village forever. But she never forgot the chilling truth she learned that rainy night. Sometimes, the most terrifying monsters in a family aren't ghosts from the river. It's a love so blind, so desperate, that it drags everyone down into the darkest, coldest depths of hell. Thank you for visiting Horror Koko Town. If this story sent a chill down your spine, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and lock your doors tonight. Until next time, sweet nightmares.